Morning all, and welcome to today's launch of the CAREX ACMF board platform. My name is Deborah Newman, Dean, Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, and I will be your moderator for this webinar. Thank you for registering and taking the time to be here today. The ACMF is a non-profit organization that creates opportunities to address the diversity of need within Caribbean maritime training, to include scholarships, grants, underwriting sea time for cadets to prepare them to work on ships, funding classrooms, and providing assistance with technology devices. The Caribbean Maritime Career Exchange is the ACMF job platform. It is designed exclusively for graduates of the Caribbean Maritime University in Jamaica, LJM Maritime Academy in the Bahamas, University of Trinidad and Tobago in Trinidad, and Matpel Marine in Guyana. Our speakers today will be our very own Professor Evan Duggan, our interim president of the Caribbean Maritime University, who will present his opening remarks. We will also hear from Mr. Roland Marlin Smith, ACMF board member, who will explain the purpose of the job board. And thereafter, we have Mr. Alex Lewis, ACMF Jobs Board Developer, and he will tell us how to use the ACMF Jobs Board. We have also allocated time for questions and answers, and you're required to pose your questions in the chat function later on. Dr. Brown Metzger, who's president of the ACMF, will also be closing the webinar. I now invite Professor Evan Duggan to give us his opening remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Moderator, Captain Deborah Newman, Dean, Faculty of Marine and Nautical Sciences, Roland Mallings Smith, board member of the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, Dr. Genevieve Brown Metzger, executive director of the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, CMU students, graduates, other participants, good morning. No man is an island. No man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me. Each man's grief is my own. I grew up hearing this song, but will certainly not risk singing it today. However, I wanted to share those lines because it is a powerful reminder of the importance of partnerships, especially in this challenging COVID-19 era. These words remind us that no matter how powerful we think we are, we need others to survive and indeed to thrive. That's why I'm extremely honored to have been invited today to deliver these brief remarks at a function put on by one of the key partners of the Caribbean Maritime University, the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, or ACMF. The ACMF was formed several years ago with the CMU as its chief academic partner. And since then, the organization, led by the indefatigable Dr. Genevieve Brown Metzger, has put the interests of our students front and center, and with impressive results. As just one example, the ACMF has provided thousands of US dollars in scholarships and grants to students who, but for their efforts, might not have had an opportunity to pursue tertiary studies, and in some events, complete tertiary studies. Today, I want to pay tribute to the organization for yet another innovative project aimed at assisting students and graduates of the CMU, as well as some other regional educational institutions. This project, CAREX for short, the Caribbean Maritime Career Exchange, an ACMF job platform, has been developed exclusively for graduates of the Caribbean Maritime University, the LJM Maritime Academy, University of Trinidad and Tobago, and Matpel Marine. Once persons complete profiles on the platform, employers will be able to access their profiles and select suitably qualified candidates for high-paying jobs. The CMU is extremely grateful to the ACMF for creating this opportunity for students. As we continue to face the myriad of challenges that have been created by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Jobs Board will assist students in seeking more opportunities for jobs. We are confident that the Jobs Board will serve its purpose, and we hope that our students will take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. Which brings me back to where I started. It's when you meet challenging times that you really know your friends. COVID-19 is a timely and powerful example and reminder. This is more than charity. It is an investment in our nation and our region's future. One only needs to look at the current challenges facing shipping and their connection to an increase in commodity prices to understand that the maritime and related industries are the lifeblood of societies. They're also a possible pathway to achieving the long-term growth that has been elusive in the Caribbean region. In other words, once again, it is not just good for the CMU, it is good for our country and good for the region. According to a new report by Grandview Research Incorporated, by 2028, the global shipping container market size is expected to reach nearly $16 billion. The Caribbean is uniquely positioned to benefit from this sector by virtue of its proximity to the United States and major maritime trade routes and infrastructure, such as the Panama Canal, as well as the region's many ports. That makes institutions like the CMU pivotal to the development of the regional economy. And therefore, we consider the launch of this new platform as yet another opportunity for our students and our graduates to reap these benefits as they bear implications for the region. Thank you again to the ACMF team, CMU students and graduates, and all of you for coming out this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dugan, for your encouraging words. We hope that our students will leave this webinar with a renewed trust as they pursue their careers. I will now move on to invite Mr. Roland Marlin Smith, ACMF board member, who will explain the purpose of the Jobs Board. Mr. Marlin Smith.
Thank you so much, Captain Newman. And thank you to Prof. Dugan for his very important support and encouragement in our mission. Dear CMU graduates, our foundation has been providing financial aid to CMU students for 5 years now. And apart from some funding for infrastructure in early years, the scholarships and grants have been our main focus. We soon discovered that there was another need which was almost as critical, but rather more difficult to resolve. Graduates in maritime engineering and navigation need to have a year's sea time as cadets before they qualify for their professional exams for earning their certificates of competency as officers. And there were no currently available means or arrangements in place for such sea time. Our initial reaction to this need was to make calls to acquaintances in the shipping industry asking for slots on their ships for cadet candidates. But there were no opportunities. Vessel owners all had their established relationships with colleges and unions in Europe and crewing agencies in the Far East, and have up to now been reluctant to change course. This intransigence is remarkable in the context of a BIMCO and International Chamber of Shipping Workforce Report, which came to our attention in July last year. It concluded that the global shipping industry is facing a potentially serious shortage of officers by 2026. The report predicted that there would be a shortage of 90,000 officers unless there is significant increase in recruiting and training. This report gives us hope that despite our immediate challenges in finding cadet slots, the eventual growth in demand for officers will make employment at sea more achievable for our young people, for all of you. In order to facilitate and support the search for cadet sponsorships, the Foundation considered a web-based portal to collect and privately offer our cadet candidates to prospective employers. Emphasize, privately offer our cadet candidates to prospective employers. This portal or jobs board, which we call the Caribbean Maritime Career Exchange, or CAREX for short, has been developed by the Jamaica Information Service under contract with the Foundation. But once we embarked upon this road, it was a logical step to extend this employment facility to other graduates as well. Those who have pursued courses in industrial engineering, logistics, port management, and a range of other maritime related subjects. The CAREX portal is just now complete, as you know, and you have been asked to populate it with your profiles for presentation to prospective employers. A few important points to note. The portal is restricted to Caribbean candidates and to the maritime industry by invitation only. Privacy is protected. No one who goes in there to complete a profile can view your profile. Employers can view all prospective candidates' posts, jobs, but cannot view other employers' postings. The site provides a confidential email option for employers to communicate directly with you. Invitations will be extended to employers selectively by the Foundation by issuing unique employer credentials. To give you an idea of the way we are thinking, among the prospective employers whom the Foundation will be inviting to the site are Royal Caribbean Line, Carnival Cruise, Norwegian Caribbean Line, MSC Cruises, Tote Maritime, Tropical Shipping, Seacor. All of these companies we already have a communication with in this context. GBA Ships, Mercy Ships, and members of the Florida Shipowners Group. We also aim to add global energy companies and many shore-based Caribbean companies involved in trading, shipping, forwarding, shipping agencies, port terminals, as well as power generation companies and manufacturers as we gain momentum. It is the Foundation's goal to nurture the development of activity on this CAREX site to the point where it is heavily used by employers and graduates of our Caribbean maritime institutions and become the go-to site for recruitment by the cruise lines. So in this context, we urge you to make full use of it to prominently display your resumes for prospective employers. Thank you for your participation and best of luck with your careers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Roland Mullins-Smith, for your contribution. Of course, we can see that there are increase in the opportunities, the number of ships that are available out there that has established a relationship with the foundation, and we're happy to have heard this. And this should motivate our students even more to participate in this effort in terms of uploading their profiles, so that employers or potential employers will be able to view their qualifications and whatever experience that they have. We are now moving on to the exciting part where we want to hear from Mr. Alex Lewis, who is the ACMF Jobs Board developer, and he's going to take us through how to use the ACMF Jobs Board. Mr. Lewis, please.
Morning, everyone. So we designed the system to be as easy to use as possible. So give me a second, let me share my.
It appears as if Mr. Lewis has lost contact, he's frozen. Mr. Gordon.
Yes, I'm just gonna call him in the meantime.
Participants, as we just want to clear up this minor delay, let's try to find out what is happening to Mr. Lewis. I think it's a connection issue. So we trust that this will be resolved in short order. Thanks.
Captain Newman, perhaps we can field a few questions in the meantime, if any of the participants have anything they want to raise.
We had reserved, thank you, Mr. Marlin Smith. We had reserved that for the end, but they will have to use the chat feature in order to submit their questions if we want to utilize the time productively while we wait on Mr. Lewis. Dr. Brown-Metzger, is that okay with you? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. I would also suggest that students begin to put their questions in the chat and make sure that it is directed to the moderator, and that would be Captain Deveron Newman. Start to fill up the chat right now so that once we get to the Q&A, we can just roll.
Mr. Gordon, any updates? So participants, in the meantime, maybe what we can do is to accept some of your questions. Just type them in the chat. We have one question from Mr. Gordon. What kind of experience have you had in searching for jobs? This would be, so we'd like to have some responses from the participants, the students, to highlight or to indicate and to share what kind of experiences have you had in searching for jobs.
Students, this is not a time to be shy. A big part of job search means a certain amount of aggressiveness and forthrightness. So use this experience as almost an object lesson, guys. Let's speak up. If you wave your hands, our moderator should be able to see you and you'll be able to speak. So please, we're all on your team. We're your family. We're here. We've made an investment in you. So use this opportunity to speak up. I see
Okay, so we
that Sasha Guy da Costa has raised her hand.
Hello, good morning. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, good morning, Tasha Guy. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Please let us have your comment.
All right. I firstly want to laud this initiative, especially in this uncertain time. It's very much a sigh of relief that these things are happening for us as students. So I really laud that. So I heard that you mentioned a lot of companies are coming on board. And my question to you is, are you guys looking to expand your horizons in terms of the sciences? Like, will there be jobs open in the science field of the maritime industry? For example, your environmental science, your marine sciences, your marine life sciences, and your biological sciences in the maritime industry.
Okay, thank you for that question, Tasha Guy. Maybe Mr. Marlin Smith, would you like to take that one?
This is a very useful suggestion. We had not given a lot of thought to it. Our initial focus was for the cadets on ships, and then of course to the obvious shore-based industries that we could think of. But certainly the environmental scene is of increasing importance now with climate change and everything else that's going on around us. And we promise you that we will address this very useful suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marlin Smith. We have a response from Shamar Fletcher. He says, the experience has been terrible. It seems the only jobs available are those of the BPO sector, which has some harsh working conditions that's slave-like. So I think with the efforts of the ACMF, once we get the jobs board going and employers are able to see what you're worth, then I think that this situation should change. We should see some improvement in employment. Jermaine Andrews has also commented on geographic location in terms of the challenges that he has been faced with in terms of searching for jobs. So in some instances, I know that people have to relocate in order to take advantages of some opportunities. So we know that there are some challenges, but that's one of the approaches. One of the good things about today is that a lot of jobs will allow you to work virtually anyway. So you also want to maybe focus in that area. Alex Spencer said, good day. The job searching process has been very hard and turns off. Let's see. I'm just trying to.
Getting jobs with limited experience.
I think I mean in terms of actually getting jobs with limited experience.
Okay. In terms of actually getting jobs with limited experience. So some of the times what you students have to do is you maybe have to offer your services to just be an intern and to volunteer in order to get your one foot in the door of an organization. So that's an approach that you can take or seek to find or identify organizations that will be willing to allow you to get some work experience without being paid for that. Sometimes you have to volunteer your services just to gain that experience of a particular type of job. And then you can use that to approach an employer who would laud you for your efforts in order to gain employment.
Before you take some other questions, Alex is back online and he is ready as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordon. So Alex is back. We'll revert to the questions afterwards. So we'll allow Mr. Lewis to make his presentation. Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Yes, thank you. So let me share my screen again. Let me know when you're seeing my screen.
Yes,
We are.
your screen is visible.
Okay, so we designed the platform to be as easy to use as possible. Students coming on to create a profile will first come to the first page, which is what we're looking at. Look at here. You have the ability to see a preview of employers, also some recent job posts. Now you won't be able to actually see these posts until you sign up. So once you sign up, you go to candidate. Then you're going to register as a candidate. So I'm going to register now. Let's show you. So I put my name, phone number. Password. Generally, you'd want to select a password that this will signify as strong, but in the interest of time, move forward. Now, once you log in, if you notice, you have two additional options at the top of your screen, employers and jobs. Additionally, under the options section, you can edit your profile and edit your account. The edit profile is extremely important. And if you notice, even at the bottom, below the search for jobs area, you also have a reminder constantly asking you to not only to complete your profile, but to make sure that you published your profile. You will be able to view employers and view jobs. So let me just quickly give you an example of what this looks like. So this would be an example of what an employer profile looks like. Just a brief description of the company, what they do, a little bit about how many employers they have. You'll also be able to view job posts. For example, IT specialist position with all of the details about the position. You also have a small contact form that you can use to submit your resume, along with a brief introduction to yourself and a cover letter. As mentioned before, one of the main things that you should do once you register is to complete your profile. Now, to do that, once you log in, you click edit profile. It will direct you to this page, which will provide an interface for you to fill out your profile. Now, it does have a fair number of details within the profile. One of the first things you should do is to fill out your name, and a summary or objective similar to what you'd find on your resume. Select whether or not you're an undergraduate student. You're also able to select the different categories where your career level, maritime categories as well. Sorry. Your desired position, age, gender, number of different text boxes in terms of contact telephone, degree level. So most of you will be graduating with a bachelor's degree. Your availability to work. This section will have more details on your education in terms of the school you attended, the program that you participated in. The certification section is more designed for if you have any external certificates that you probably got away from school. I know that you have persons who probably, if you want to work in the hospitality sector, there are some certifications you got to boost your resume. You can add them here in addition to your bachelor's degree. If you have any prior work experience, you're able to add it here as well. If you have a letter of recommendation from your previous supervisor, your current supervisor, you can upload it. You can list any additional skills that you might have. And I know some of the hospitality-based shipping industries would be good if you know more than one languages. So you can add the language and your proficiency. So English would be your native language. If you know maybe a little bit of Spanish, you could put Spanish with that elementary proficiency. You're also able to add your full resume with all the details. And then you can add your social media profiles if you like. Now, I want to show you an example of what the completed profile looks like. So this is just a demo that I did just to show what the completed profile should look like. So you have the person's name, Janelia. This should be a description or summary of the resume. I use dummy text just to fill it out. She is looking for a logistics manager position. She's an undergraduate student, a scholar of the ACMF. And if you notice, her profile is fully filled out. Please make sure to, if you're adding an image, you add an image to the featured image section. I notice that some persons are trying to add the image in the description section, which will be removed. As noted earlier, she added her school here as the University of Commonwealth. Work experience, as I mentioned before as well. She added some skills. And some social networks. This is what the completed profile will look to the employer. Now, when you complete your profile, please make sure you look at your profile to see what it will look like to the employer, because your aim is to get these employers to notice your profile. If anything is off, if you have any incorrect information, that will impact you negatively in the eyes of the employer. If you notice you were able to download the resume that was uploaded here, the potential employer will be able to send you a message similar to how you will be able to send a resume to the job post of a particular employer. You are able, the employer will be able to see the schools you've attended, certifications. Didn't add any certifications, work experience, all the parts that was filled in prior in the prior page. Now, this is pretty much it for the candidates. As I said before, it's very easy. The information is direct, easy to understand, and if you have any issues, there will be contact information. You can fill out the contact form outlining the issues that you have, and somebody will be more than willing to help you. All right, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Alex. So
Yes.
on the summary of the experience, there is a limit to how many words, right? Because you have your resume, you have your other documentation.
Yes.
So the summary should be just a teaser, a very short and spicy teaser about who you are. And that's likely what the employer is going to first read. So you need to think about
Right. So
how you can present yourself in those words.
Dr. Mitz says, right, don't try to copy and paste the entire resume into the description. It's limited to about 300 words. So if you put the entire resume there, you will only see 300 words.
So you may want to just do a draft of this, come back to it, you know, think of this as a bit of creative writing so that you present yourself as compellingly as possible. Okay.
So I just wanted to add that I really want to use the summary, because a lot of times your resume will have a section talking about what's your objective, a summary of your qualifications and what you've done. That's pretty much what you want to see in that section.
All right, Mr. Lewis, thank you for that, for navigating through the profile, uploading and completing the profile. And I think the example was quite useful. So for some of our students, maybe who have been having difficulties, maybe would have gotten a better understanding as to how to complete this activity. There are some questions, I think, in the chat, so I'll go to the chat and see what is here. Taj Rooms says, been trying to edit my profile, but that option is loading for me. Mr. Lewis? Okay, would you like to comment on that?
So it would be best if you have an issue similar to take a screenshot and send it to me so I can properly identify the issue. Is it the loading as that she's referring to?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. DeAndre Williams said, are the job options region specific? Maybe Mr. Marlon Smith, you want to take that question, please? Would you like to?
No, they are not. In fact, many of the potential employers are global operators, so there is scope for employment abroad as well.
Okay, thank you. Is it okay that someone had placed my CSEC certificate, the session that requested certificates? Does that mean that it should be removed? Alex?
So I think it can stay. I think Miss Dr. Mitchell would be better able to determine whether or not it should stay. But it was designed specifically for industry-specific certification, so hospitality, restaurants, and so on.
Right, let me thank you, Alex. Yeah, this is interesting because the jobs board is really, I think, primarily for graduates, people who are ready to work. The edit function allows you, the jobs board allows you to get your feet wet, to get on the site, to begin to make yourself viewable to potential employers. So the minute that you get your particular certifications, you need to update them. In other words, you need to keep your profile updated. So I don't think it's a bad thing to put your CXC certification. However, I think that employers would be looking more for the certifications that are required for you once you finish your degree or your diploma program right before you enter the job market. I would be curious to hear what my colleague, Dr. Manning Smith, wants to say on that subject as well.
Yes, I agree. Basically, the focus is to assist the graduates once they are ready to look for employment. This is the focus.
Thank you, Dr. Marlon Smith. So in this case for Raheem, will the first year students will be allowed to participate in this program for logistics? That would be a little bit too early, as Dr. Metzger indicated. They're looking more for graduate. So you really need to have completed your studies and preferably have your credentials, your degree, or for the cadets, as the case may be, your degree along with your mandatory STCW certificates to get you on board. So I think that would be important for you to consider. Our company is open to taking on no-pay interns. Dr. Marlene Smith, any comments regarding that? No-pay interns?
Well, actually, I posed that question and I was really asking you in the Caribbean. I know in the United States, no-pay internships are a key part of preparation for work. I'm not sure about what happens in the Caribbean. Does, for example, a shipping company or a logistics company in Jamaica, take on interns at no pay just to give them that experience? And certainly it was your advice a few minutes ago that students look into that.
Right. Thank you for that. What we do have, we have a very interesting component for training of our students where they get, they have a work experience program that is a part of their studies, and they're assigned to different companies depending on the specialization to gain experience on the job as part of their program. So while they're in university, they do get exposure in terms of job experience, working in participating in activities within a customs related outfit or maritime administration and so on. So they do get some exposure while they're studying. So that should count for something when they complete their resume.
And there's a place on the jobs board to be able to list that kind of experience as well, if I recall.
Yes, there's a work experience section that you're able to list all work experiences. If you're somebody who has a lot of work experiences, you probably could decide the ones that best fit the desired position. But that would assuming that most of you would only have the internship experience, that's where you would list that experience.
Siobhan Basco has asked, how soon will be able to be in contact with prospective employers? Dr. Marlene Smith or Alex?
Yes, let me attempt to answer that. We are at the very early stages of this program. It took us a while to have the program built with Alex's help and GIS help. And we needed to have a database of student or graduate profiles in the portal before we go to the employers. So while we have had preliminary discussions with the employers, we have not yet provided them with credentials to establish their own profiles and to start shopping for employees. So this is something that is important for the graduates, the students to understand. We are at the very beginning, and this occasion is prompted by our desire to have everyone sign up and get as many profiles as we can so that we have an attractive array of opportunities to present to the potential employers. And that is the next stage. With your patience, we will get there soon.
I really need to add to that. Thank you very much, colleague Roland, because this is so important. We can't do anything with this site unless you register and put your information. It's all driven by the data that you provide. We're considering the launch. It's the first time that we are talking publicly about it. So the input today, we will utilize to fine tune and refine the site. But the bottom line is, unless you register on the site and provide your profiles, all of your documentation, etc., we cannot go to an employer. So we want as many people as possible to do that today and certainly over the next, week, because we would like to be able, as soon as possible, starting in March, to be able to go to prospective employers, feeling that we have a goodly number of profiles on the site. If though that number isn't there, if you do not, put your profile on the site, if we don't have the critical mass that Dr. Manley Smith talked about, we will not go to corporations. These are huge companies, they're interested, but it's driven by what you do. So please, complete your profiles, tell your friends. By the end of the month, it's now the 24th, by the end of February, we want to have at least 200 profiles on the site.
Thank you, Dr. Metzger. Abiola Barton says, I've been trying to sign up for the profile, but it's not going through. Alex, can you comment on that, please?
So as I said before, I prefer to work with the student that's having the issue. If any student have any issues trying to sign up for the profile, email me with a screenshot at alewis@jis.gov.jm, and I'll work directly with you to find out what the issue is and how to get you signed up.
Alex, could you give us that email again, please? Because I'll repeat it at the close.
I'm going to write it in the chat.
Yeah,
and
please.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Ms. Wilson, you have raised your hand. I'll take your question. Please go ahead.
Captain, are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Yes. Good morning. Good morning to the ACMF team. Good morning, everyone. I would like to commend the ACMF for the job that they're doing in, ensuring that our students are placed in jobs for those who are unable to do so. And it is very heartwarming to see that they're actually begging us to have our students, post their resumes or to subscribe to the jobs board. I would want for an ad to go, particularly to those cadets who might have graduated from CMU, because oftentimes I receive requests asking if there are any available jobs. And because we had limited birthing space prior to now, it caused a lot of troubles for them in finding jobs. So this is quite an initiative that we're really appreciative of. And I will continue to spread the word, because oftentimes I speak with cadets, very often, and they will reach out, Ms. Wilson, even though I'm not in that faculty anymore, but they'll reach out because they're desirous of getting jobs, but the jobs are just not available, or they're just not finding the right avenue. So I will assist as well in sending the word out, because I'm sure there are a number of cadets who have graduated who are not in a job at this time.
Thank you for that comment, Ms. Wilson. You can lower your hand, Ms. Wilson. Mrs. Myrna Ellis Medina, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Okay, pleasant good morning, everyone. So I really want to commend this effort by it's the ACMS team. I am the person who is responsible for the delivery of the Bachelor of Science degree in cruise shipping and marine tourism. I will be honest with you, I have not given up at all on my dream to see one of my students send me an email to say, Miss, I have just been called by Royal Caribbean to join them in the hospitality department. But in doing my research, I found out that these cruise lines, they don't really negotiate with the individual candidates. What they have is a recruitment agency. So for example, Royal Caribbean has several recruitment agencies in the Caribbean, in South America, in North America. In the Caribbean, there's a recruitment agency in Trinidad, where I am from. I called that recruitment agency and they said to me, well, so sorry, we only recruit from Trinidad, but you need to look in your region. So to hear that this is happening for students in the maritime industry, this is an answer to one of my many prayers, I must say. The other point I want to make is that for students who are using this site, I think that the students really need some help, because there's a significant difference between a resume and a CV. And from what Dr. Metzger said, because there is a word limit, you want to have that one pager that is about 300 words that really captures who you are with the key points that the specific job that you're looking for, you know, that they would see first. So for example, in your personal summary, you know, you'd want to say that you're passionate about working on the sea, or, you know, you find those words that will attract them. And of course, you include those special skills that you may have and so on. But I really feel, based on the work that I've been doing with my own students, I would say to them, before you send a resume out, send it to me. By the time I see it, I have to engineer, help them, work with them, get on the chat and you know, share the screen and say, put this here, no, move that from there. Look at the dot, look at the capital letter, it shouldn't be there. We need that little group to help the students. And so that when they put it on the site, it's not one that will be rejected. Another thing I learned in speaking to persons who look at resumes. Now, there's some resumes that end up with 2 columns. So you have the left-hand side where they put their profile and contact numbers and so on, and then the other side where they actually put their experience in education. Sometimes that confuses these computers that are looking at words. And so it is recommended that you do the left to right and so on. So some of these things we need to look at, but I am really happy to have this initiative. I can say to my students now, this is the place that you need to upload your information so that the world will see the Royal Caribbeans and the carnivals and so on. So again, I'm writing this day down as a happy day for me because it gives me some hope for my students as I assist them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ms. Ellis Medina, you have said so much in such a short space of time. And you're right. How your resume is formatted is critical. So that's on your side when you mentor your students to ensure they have an adequate resume. If I could suggest, never use a CV, never. Use I know it's very colonial, very British, use a resume and make that resume 1 page, please. There are people on this call who have been in industry for 40, 50 years, and we all are required. We know what's most effective is to put our resume on 1 page. There ain't no student who needs a CV. I'm sorry. A curriculum vitae should not be utilized by a student. I'm sorry. Use a 1 page resume, please. Now, with respect to the fact that you talked about the arrangements, with crewing agencies by the shipping companies, you're exactly right. And that is what the ACMF is attempting to break through. We're attempting to provide a paradigm shift in this process. That's what we're doing. And we're very well aware that the conventional wisdom is to go to these crewing agencies. We have formulated close working relationships, and we're deepening those relationships with our donors and our sponsors. And they're looking to us for these kinds of recommendations. Therein lies the reason for going in this direction. So you're right, it's a paradigm shift. We're breaking through. We're saying the old method, fine, no problem, but it's not enough effective to do the job. And so in the world of technology, we don't need a middleman. That's what a crewing agency is. It's a middleman. With technology, we don't need that. There's the Indeeds of the world. It works. Let us come to a place where we can have a platform and a conduit for direct communication between Caribbean maritime nationals and employers. We are facilitating that, and we're giving them the comfort level. This is why Dr. Roland Mallon-Smith mentioned that it is exclusively for our partners. We're working with credentialed institutions. When these kids, young men and women graduate, we know they are properly qualified. And so we're putting in front of these companies, with whom we have a good working relationship, our students. So yes, it's a breakthrough, it's different. And the final point is Royal Caribbean has hired people. In fact, 2 of our graduates are now second officers right out of school. And there is more to come. It's a process, but we are hopeful.
Thank you, Dr. Metzger. We want to turn our attention to some more questions. I have from Kashif Mary. If I have certification or experience in a field that is outside of my chosen field of study, would it be recommended to add them as well? Dr. Marlene Smith.
Yes, when we were building the site, Alex asked us to make a list of all the career categories. And you will see that on the right side of the profiles when you enter to do a profile. And we don't know that that list that is there today is exhaustive. So we are open to requests or suggestions to extend that list and to include areas of interest, employment interests, which graduates may have based upon their studies. And this is something which Alex would be anxious to amend as and add as an administrator of the portal. So we're open to extending those categories.
Thank you, Dr. Marlene Smith. That's excellent news for you, Kashif, and hope you make use of the jobs board. Michelle Marshall, does the site give job opportunities for custom processes, freight forwarding, and immigration? If it doesn't exist already, I think, as Dr. Marlene Smith just said, then we'd also seek to expand the options. Michelle, so you can look forward to that. Moving right along, we have Lincoln McCullough. Are there jobs available in the custom process? That's the same thing. Another question, can I unpublish my profile on the website, Alex? Not hearing it. Alex, you're muted.
Yes, I just realized you can set it as a draft, which is essentially the same thing. So once you set your profile, set it as a draft, you are removing your profile from being publicly available.
Okay, thank you. Hope you heard that, Kashif. I know you're a cadet, so hope you're paying attention. Shamar Fletcher, I noticed there aren't any job posts about engineering on the website, so no engineering jobs are available. Well, I think that question would also fall in the same category of where the options would be expanded to include engineering. And maybe, Alex, I do not know, maybe different dimensions of engineering, because engineering is a general terminology, but yes, of course you have specific areas.
Captain, if you could allow myself and Roland Manon Smith to answer this question, because we have, but I think it needs some fleshing out. The extent to which we are able to bring on employers on this site means that all job opportunities in the maritime sector will be, will be taken care of, will be explored. All right, so it's not just in hospitality, it's not just in customs, it's jobs across the industry, because our aim is to bring on as many of these companies, not only in the Caribbean, but globally as possible. And they all are looking for jobs across the board. So this is why it is important. This is why we are stressing that it is important for you guys to sign up on the site. And we will be expanding the areas of employment that we just talked about, that Mr. Manon Smith just spoke about, so that you'll be able to check those. And again, we will be bringing on board as many of these global companies as possible to review the database. So the answer is yes. Customs and processing, whatever it is, put your profile on there, we will be able to bring companies that are potentially looking for jobs in those areas. Mr. Mannix.
Thank you.
Yes, let me just quickly add that the site already has 2 categories of engineering: industrial engineering and marine engineering. And I can tell you that based on my experience speaking with potential employers, that the cruise lines are especially interested in recruiting engineers. That is even more critical to them than navigation officers. They are very interested in engineers, and especially marine engineers with electrical experience.
That's right.
I also want to take the opportunity to enlist some of the administrators that are on the meeting who would have suggestions for categories to send these suggestions or categories to myself, with Dr. Metzer or Mr. Smith to include on the site. Once you can log in, review the available options there, and submit suggestions to add.
Thank you, Alex, for that. So based on what Dr. Metzger stated earlier, then Levon Power, that would answer your question, and Deandra Williams. And so let's move on to see if we have some more questions for okay.
I'd like to just point out what Alex just said. Our intern, Tajay Marshall, just posted this email. Please feel free to send all of your questions to him about the site. If you're having any challenges, as Alex just said, his email is in the chat, tajay.marshall@gmail.com.
Thank you. Well, there are no more questions in the chat. It's 11:33. I think we have done quite well. There's a question from Jordan Brown. So for graduates, CMI SAS students, School of Advanced Skills, will there be a certain job requirement for us, or is it all rounded? The reason for this is because when I used the site and did my profile, it was given much option. It's not very clear, the comment, but the School of Graduate, so for a graduate CMI student from SAS, the School of Advanced Skills would have offered a number of specialized courses, a lot of short courses, but I think you are still able to submit your application, as Dr. Metzger said, and it will be addressed. So it's open also to you based on what you would have presented.
That's right.
Additionally, I forgot to add, when I was reviewing some of the profiles I already submitted, realized a number of students uploaded photos that were not necessarily done in a professional setting. I think the students should be very, very careful to include photos that are done in a more professional form.
Alex, let me take that from you. Thank you so much for pointing that out. You know, this business of understanding how to market and position yourself is really important. I know that Dean and Mrs. Ellis, who just spoke before, are focused on that based on their comments. I would strongly suggest that you work with a mentor or an advisor to ensure that your resume is in proper order and that your photo is appropriate. We don't want, for women, we don't want bosoms showing. For men, we don't want anything that is, we want a shirt and tie, let's put it this way. We want you in a shirt and tie if you are a young man. If it's not a tie, just a proper shirt and pants. We want young women with their hair properly fixed, and we want modest clothing in a job photograph. This is not a Saturday night or Friday evening event. I cannot stress enough how the presentation of your photograph and your resume is in this process. And it's not just for the Caribbean, it's all over the world. This is a competitive environment, guys, and I cannot stress enough how you need to be careful in how you present yourself. I would also suggest to you that since you have the option of uploading your social media, that you are careful about what types of things you put on your social media. I look at social media before I even look at the resume. Okay, so, and this is not something you can opt out of once you post it. So these are the conversations and things that we need to begin to think about. We are professionals expecting to work in a global industry. You have to be thinking about who you are, how you're positioning yourself from day one. So make sure your photograph is a proper photograph. Make sure you have a proper smile on your face. You don't look too mad or anything like that. Things like that are important when an employer comes on that site and looks at your profile. Present yourself in the best light possible. And you know what I mean.
A quick point on a quick word on that point. I do want to point out that there's going to be the CMU Career Fair will be coming up. So some of these questions are addressed annually when we host the Career Fair. So there are opportunities internally. So use up those opportunities when they come up to find out how you do a resume. How can you do a more modern resume, such as in the example that Dr. Genevieve Brown-Metzger gave, or how you can do a headshot, or those kinds of things you take for granted. And we also have a session that's going to come up shortly about your digital footprint. We do realize that there are a lot of people who are speaking on those social media platforms without a thought about how they are being perceived by employers. And people are making those kinds of searches, especially in a digital environment. That's actually quite par for the course for a lot of companies to simply look on how you are conducting yourself in real life, because people put their best foot forward when they are doing the resumes, but what are you actually doing on those digital platforms, and how are you actually engaging with people? That is the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say, and people are looking at that. Captain Newman?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Dr. Metzger, two students wanted to know if the graduation picture would be acceptable.
I think the graduation with the cap and gown.
I think
the graduation picture.
Yes.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Or you're in your fineries that day even before you put on. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. So
but no sexy pose or anything like that. I'm just speaking like I would talk to my daughter. Okay, just a nice, modest pose. Okay, I know that women get into these big high heels and all of that stuff. Just keep the shot from the waist up, modest. This is not a fashion show. This is an employer looking and judging you with hundreds, if not thousands of other people. So bear that in mind. No flip-flops, so I would keep the shot from the waist up. It's not a situation where you're posing with your hand on your hip and all this stuff. No, from the chest up is fine. Your cap and gown good.
Let me add, I see somebody asking whether or not they should take a business headshot. I think that is probably one of the best ideas, a professional business headshot, if you have the opportunity to do so. I also wanted to add, I'm not sure if you guys remember the image that I used for the demo profile photo of that young lady. I specifically used that image as a example for the students to look at. So yes, a business headshot would be best. The graduation picture if you have another option. But as Dr. Benson suggests, this is not a night out at the party. So okay. Above the waist, show a little shoulder with a nice smile, and that's you.
Thank you, Alex, for your comments. There doesn't seem to be any more questions. So I think it's now 11:41. We are approaching the end of this webinar. So if there are no more questions or comments from our participants, I'd now invite Dr. Brown-Metzger to give us the closing remarks. Dr. Metzger.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you to Professor Duggan and the CMU team for facilitating this project for us this morning. I am so really excited. I want you young people to know that we eat, live, and breathe you. We think you are at top of our mind every day, hours in every day, to see how we can best facilitate. Our job here is to fill whatever gaps there may be in the training and access to the maritime space. There are several institutions across the region doing amazing jobs. CMU is at the top of the heap. However, there are areas where, you know, more additional work can be done, and certainly this area of helping to meet the job gap is really important for many of you. So I just want you to know that we take this seriously, we take you seriously. We want to do whatever we can to assist. Let me especially thank Mr. Manon Smith, who, as a ship owner himself and someone who is a donor, perhaps the biggest donor, one of the biggest donors to the ACMF, his humility has been very instrumental to me, and I think he has been a driver of this project himself, taking this on and ensuring that it gets to you. So we want to express our love for you, our commitment to you, and we hope that that inspires you to really work with us to get your profiles up and ready to go, that you'll take the support that Mr. Archibald Gordon spoke about to make sure that your presentation is the best that it can be. And I would say finally that we're offering a laptop to one attendee at this event today, a fully loaded laptop, which is already in Jamaica. We will be selecting from the attendees one person, and so we will make that announcement in a week or so. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and if there are any additional questions, you can, with respect to the whole technical aspect of signing up, you can reach out to tajay.marshall@gmail.com, and also to Alex. His email was in the chat. And with that, God bless you all, stay safe, and look forward to all of you being ACE Maritime employees. Bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Metzger and Dr. Marlene Smith and Alex, and you, the participants, because we have done this for you, for your benefit, for your development, your professional development, and the sky's the limit once you follow all the cues that we have shared with you today. And I'm happy to have been a part of this effort. I'm also very much in support of the advancement of our students. So once again, thank you very much. And this brings us to the end of the webinar. Thank you.